When you think of great actors, names like Marlon Brando, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Meryl Streep come to mind. But there's one actor who has consistently left audiences wondering, is this real? And that's Leonardo DiCaprio. This man is known for completely losing himself in his roles. So much so that even he forgets he's acting. From his early roles as a teenage sensation to becoming one of the most versatile actors in Hollywood, DiCaprio's career is packed with performances that go beyond just acting. He's lived his characters. But what happens when an actor loses track of the difference between acting and real life? Come with me as we see how Leonardo DiCaprio became an actor who lives the worlds of his characters.
I carry my characters a year out.
DiCaprio's early years. Long before he became an international superstar, Leonardo DiCaprio was just another kid in Hollywood, trying to break into the industry. He made his television debut at just 3 years old on the children's show Romper Room. Though he was kicked off for being too disruptive, this early exposure to cameras would expose him to a lifelong passion. Despite this rocky start, DiCaprio's passion for acting continued to grow. As a teenager, he landed roles in commercials and educational films, learning the ropes of the industry. His big break came in 1990, when he started appearing on TV shows like Roseanne and The New Lassie. He then got a recurring role on Growing Pains in 1991, which is when people started to notice how good he was.
Well, the first time was actually on TV. I was on TV at about 3 years old. Have you ever seen Romper Room, that television
Are you kidding?
From TV to the big screen. By the early 1990s, DiCaprio had already made the switch from TV to movies. His first big screen appearance was in the low-budget horror movie Critters 3. Now, this movie barely made any headlines, but it was still DiCaprio's first taste of actual movie acting. These early roles helped shape DiCaprio's career and gave him the experience he would need to take on more serious roles in the years to come. But it was not long before DiCaprio's huge talent became clear, especially in movies like This Boy's Life, where he starred with Robert De Niro. The turning point, working with De Niro. One of the most pivotal moments in DiCaprio's early career was his role in This Boy's Life, 1993, where he acted opposite one of the greatest actors of all time, Robert De Niro. DiCaprio was just 16 when he took on this role, and it was his first taste of serious, dramatic acting on the big screen. De Niro's mentorship had a profound impact on DiCaprio's approach to acting. He learned important lessons about being professional and dedicated.
You know, we carried on doing this scene, and I think I actually had dinner with De Niro recently, and he told me, no, I was the one who said you should get the job, which was very sweet.
Which prepared him to give his all in all of his future roles. By the mid-90s, Leonardo DiCaprio had built a strong foundation as an actor. His early experiences from Romper Room to Growing Pains and This Boy's Life shaped his work ethic and determination. These early years would prepare him for his breakout role in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, where DiCaprio received his first Academy Award nomination at just 19 years old. From there, his real rise from a child actor to a global superstar began.
I remember the first time I saw Robert De Niro up on screen. I was 13 years old, and despite what I had learned at Career Day,
and he was in no hurry to grow up. He really wanted to live life as a young star and took on roles that needed him as that young man that he was. From small roles to Titanic stardom, Leonardo DiCaprio's journey from commercials and television to the big screen was a steady climb. But everything changed when he took on the role of Jack Dawson in Titanic, a film that would go on to become one of the biggest box office successes of all time. But taking the role wasn't an easy decision for DiCaprio. But director James Cameron convinced DiCaprio that Titanic was more than just a special effects film. It was a love story at its core that would be driven by the chemistry between Jack and Rose. Kate Winslet on DiCaprio. And to be honest, Kate and Leo's on-screen chemistry was undeniable. Their bond extended beyond the cameras, and that helped them get through the busy and sometimes hard filming schedule. That's how much DiCaprio gives to his movies, even as a young man. He got so lost in the movie that he actually assumed Kate as his partner, even after the production. Together, they made Jack and Rose one of cinema's most iconic love stories. Could Jack have fitted on that door? While Titanic was praised for its emotional depth, it also sparked one of the biggest debates in modern cinema.
Okay, biggest movie controversy of all time. Could Jack have fit on that door at the end?
Oh my gosh, I thought it. I remember bawling my eyes out when I was...
Could Jack have fit on that door? Fans around the world have speculated for years, and even DiCaprio himself has remained coy on the subject. And truly, this movie proved that DiCaprio is whoever he thinks he is. The acting was so good and natural that it took people back 8 decades into how the actual Titanic event went. He actually became the face of the Jack who drowned. Even I can't picture the real Titanic without DiCaprio's face flashing through my memories. But for Leonardo DiCaprio, Titanic became more than just a movie for. It was a turning point. Whatever popularity he had before, this role overwhelmed him and took him to the very pinnacle of stardom. It also opened the doors to some of the most challenging and unforgettable roles of his career. He was so good that almost all reviews about him were positive. A Hollywood Reporter has to say, Titanic is a film that not only redefined blockbuster filmmaking, but also solidified DiCaprio as a global icon. But despite the fame and recognition, DiCaprio remains grounded, constantly pushing the boundaries of his craft.
I don't really like sort of these gigantic, huge films for some reason. They seem to be a lot more about the special effects and less about actually a story with content, you know.
Method acting in The Revenant. Leonardo DiCaprio's commitment to his craft reached extreme levels in The Revenant. DiCaprio did not just play Hugh Glass, a frontiersman who was left for dead in the cold wilderness. He lived the part. He slept in animal carcasses, ate raw bison liver, and endured sub-zero temperatures in the wild. Leonardo DiCaprio told Yahoo Movies, "I can name 30 or 40 sequences that were some of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. Whether it's going in and out of frozen rivers or sleeping in animal carcasses, I was enduring freezing cold and possible hypothermia constantly."
You actually snorting B vitamins for those cocaine scenes, which is just like insane. Like, and in this movie, you're literally having to eat a bison.
This was not like any other movie shoot. Every day, DiCaprio and his crew had to work in harsh conditions because they had to shoot in remote areas with only a short window of natural light. The stress of having to get the perfect shot every day in just an hour and a half added a level of intensity to the filmmaking process that few actors ever feel. Every take had to be perfect. You can feel this sense of urgency throughout the whole movie, which makes DiCaprio's performance even stronger. DiCaprio was so into his role that he did more than just go through physical pain. The fact that DiCaprio chose to eat a real bison liver instead of a fake one shows how far he was willing to go to be real. The movie does a great job of capturing his real disgust and discomfort, giving the scene a raw, primal feel. Winning the Oscar, a long-deserved recognition. When DiCaprio finally won his long-deserved Oscar for The Revenant, no one could say he hadn't earned it. This was not just another role. It showed how hard he worked and how strong he was as an actor. His method acting in The Revenant pushed him to his limits, both physically and emotionally. But the result was a performance that will be remembered for years to come. The Wolf of Wall Street 1. Of Leonardo DiCaprio's most unforgettable performances comes from The Wolf of Wall Street. The iconic lemon quaalude scene is a prime example of DiCaprio's dedication to physical acting. Jordan Belfort's body loses all control after ingesting old, potent quaaludes, and DiCaprio's portrayal of this is a masterclass in physical comedy and intensity. Behind the scenes, preparing for the role. Visual footage of DiCaprio behind the scenes, working with the director, Martin Scorsese, and choreographing the sequence with the crew. Cut to clips of DiCaprio studying real-life videos of people under the influence of quaaludes.
And how many takes did you have to do?
God, we worked on that whole sequence for a week. One of my favorite sequences in Goodfellas is where Ray Liotta's like spinning, mixing the marinara. He's doing drugs.
For days, DiCaprio watched videos of people who were high on quaaludes and carefully planned every move in the scene. His improvisation, along with co-star Jonah Hill, took the scene to a chaotic, unforgettable level. DiCaprio's dedication made this scene truly cinematic, from him crawling on the floor to getting his foot stuck in the car door. The result was one of the most outlandish and hilarious sequences in the film, with DiCaprio's complete immersion in the physical demands of the role making the scene feel both ridiculous and terrifyingly real. In fact, Jordan Belfort himself praised DiCaprio's performance, saying that it was almost exactly like what happened. Belfort lived a wild and dangerous life, and DiCaprio's fearless performance brought it to life. The actor captured both the craziness and absurdity of it all. And to be honest, I'm not sure that any other movie showed us DiCaprio's range, like The Wolf of Wall Street did Christopher Nolan's Inception. The same goes for Christopher Nolan's Inception. It was a mind-bending exploration of dreams, reality, and guilt, and it pushed Leonardo DiCaprio into a space where he had to blur the lines between the two. Dom Cobb's job was not just to get through dream levels, it was also to carry the emotional weight of a man who was haunted by his past. DiCaprio's performance was emotionally intense because he fully grasped Cobb's internal struggle, which included the guilt he felt over his wife's death and the longing he felt for his children. And at nothing, he had to immerse himself emotionally. This was a movie where the line between dream and reality constantly shifts. And DiCaprio grounded the character of Cobb in so much raw human emotion that every scene feels like DiCaprio isn't just playing a man lost in dreams, but living in the blurred reality of Cobb's mind. There are more to see from DiCaprio. In Shutter Island, he takes on one of his most psychologically complex roles. Because as Teddy Daniels, a U.S. Marshal unraveling a mystery at a psychiatric facility, DiCaprio had to portray a man slowly losing his grip on reality. But as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that it's not just a case Teddy is investigating, it's his own mind. For DiCaprio, the emotional toll of this role was immense. The depth of Daniel's descent into madness was so consuming that DiCaprio admitted he began to blur the lines between himself and his character. By the film's final act, you're not just watching an actor perform, you're witnessing a man grappling with his own sense of reality and sanity. Method to the madness. How DiCaprio prepares. So how does DiCaprio do it? DiCaprio often spends months preparing for his roles, researching and immersing himself in his characters' worlds. For The Aviator, he spent months studying obsessive-compulsive disorder to authentically portray Howard Hughes.
It is like a film course, like an education every time you step on a Martin Scorsese set.
For Django Unchained, despite feeling uncomfortable with his character's cruelty, he embraced the mindset of a plantation owner. Leonardo actually cut his hand and bled on Kerry Washington in that popular scene in Django Unchained. His method acting goes far beyond learning lines. He loses himself so deeply in his characters that it feels less like acting and more like living their reality. The best thing about his is that, while many of the other legends do not want to take on certain roles, he has so much range that he kills them all, and perfectly at that. The magic of DiCaprio's work. So, what makes Leonardo DiCaprio's performances unforgettable? It is not just his skills, it is also his ability to completely transform. When DiCaprio goes on set, he does not just play a part, he becomes that part. For us, the audience, that's what makes his performances so magnetic. We're not just watching a movie, we're watching reality play out. Please hit the like button if you want to see more crazy Hollywood stories. Subscribe